we're staying with the small screen as we say good morning and welcome back to our absolute favourite Friday film contributor. To be fair, he is our only Friday film contributor, but even so, it's my mate Van Cott. Hello, Van. How you doing, matey? So, we finally have been allowed to talk about Top Gun Maverick. And I think you've finally seen it. Did you enjoy it as much as the rest of the critics seem to?
I really did. I thought it was a really great, solid blockbuster. That'll be the tentpole for 2022. Like, when the year is done, that'll be the big blockbuster that we take away, I think.
And are we ever going to see the next Mission Impossible? There's 2 more films to end the franchise, I think, aren't there, coming up? But I've got no idea when they're out. They must be next year now, I suppose.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning is next July? I think Dead Reckoning Part 1 is next July, and I think the 8th one, which is Part 2, I think is a year after that, so 2024, I would imagine. 2 or 3 years off for Tom Cruise. Not. But let's start with your first recommendation. It's film 4, I think, tonight, 9 o'clock. Tell us about Big Game. Right, I'm low-key obsessed with this movie because I'm amazed that it exists. So it's another movie from Jalmari Helmander, the director who gave us Rare Exports, one of those curios that people like me always bring up at pub quizzes when they're asked what their favourite Christmas movie is. It's the movie about evil Santa. Yep. He followed up with this movie, which feels like it should be a direct-to-DVD action in its concept, but has like an A-tier cast. Samuel L. Jackson is the president of the USA who's just flying along, minding his own business in Air Force One, when some Norwegian hunters send a surface-to-air missile up into the sky, shoot him down, and he's then hunted by his only surviving Secret Service agent, who it turns out is a traitor. His only chance of survival lies in the hands of, wouldn't you know it, a very conveniently located 13-year-old Norwegian boy who's out in the woods overnight on a sort of rite of passage hunting mission, having been told by his village to basically go out, hunt what he can, scavenge for what he can find, and whatever he can bring home or make him a man. So imagine what's going to happen when he comes across the leader of the free world. This is all sorts of arranged.
True confession time here. I loved the first film that he did, Rare Exports, and it's one of Kate Blanchett's favourite films, bizarrely. I've only seen this twice. I've never made it all the way through, only because I've only ever seen it on a plane, and I've kind of unfortunately nodded off. So I'm going to be watching it tonight. What is it about this one in particular that makes you choose it to launch the weekend?
It's one of those that seems to appreciate how silly it is. Like, Samuel L. Jackson is not exactly a slouch when it comes to self-awareness, and this movie very clearly knows what it is. You've got, like, say, a top-tier A-grade cast. People like Ted Levine show up in this, Victor Garber, Jim Broadbent turns up in this, and gets to be a bit of a tough nut for a moment. It's this cast doing something so knowingly silly and having a ball doing it. It's like the money was there for a change, and they were able to throw it at them and say, just have some fun. We all know this isn't Shakespeare. Let's just go and have a blast. You can see it on Film 4 tonight at 9 o'clock. I think it's a really good time.
Now, as far as I'm aware, he's only made 2 films so far, with maybe one more on the way. What happened to him in the intervening 6 or 7 years he worked on TV? Because he's from Finland, I think, originally, isn't he?
Well, this one, I think he went on to get it, No, this was the last one. I think he was geared up for another big project a few years ago, and I think, as happens with a lot of upcoming filmmakers, it just kind of fell through. But I guess he'll be back in the game before long, because he's clearly got action chops, he's clearly got horror chops, and he knows how to work with an A-grade cast.
And he's got the thumbs up from Van Cott. So what clip have you chosen for tonight's offering? The first one, Big Game, Film 4, 9 o'clock. Great setup. What's the clip, Van?
So here's President Samuel L. Jackson bonding with a 13-year-old Norwegian boy.
Here we go.
You're lucky.
Gotta be honest with you, young man. I'm not feeling so lucky right now.
But you are. And if I hadn't found you, you have 0 chance of survival. I'm a hunter. This is my home. With this, I can catch us food and keep us safe.
Safe from what?
Bears.
Whoa. There's bears out here?
Yeah.
And you could kill one with that thing?
Yeah.
Have you done it before?
Yes.
Really?
No, but my dad has. And I could do it too.
All right.
I'm liking the sound of that one, I must say. I've so set up, but it's, you're right, it's a solid action, but without Samuel L. Jackson, it will be straight to DVD, one suspects. Now, Now, I know you like my first film. Didn't like it enough to choose it for Friday, but it's been on several times on great movies. It's back on again, but I'm choosing it for the first time. I love this film. Stupid, silly, reminds me of some of the horror films of the 50s, but with a great overlay of humour. It's Arachnophobia from 1990. There's a clue in the title. It's about gigantic killer spiders, brought back kind of accidentally to this small town in America, where, of course, coincidentally, a spider-phobic person has just moved, played by Jeff Daniels. John Goodman's in it. I mean, some great effects in this, but above all, I just think this is funny. It's a funny film, this, I think. The quirky characters, actors in it are funny. You kind of know the people who are going to end up with death by a spider with that horrible kind of frozen rictus of terror and pain on their face, but somehow it works as it could have been a full-on horror. It's not at all. It's a great, and one of the great, for me, comedy horror films, which is much more tricky to pull off, I think, than people realise.
I think originally there was some contention behind the scenes when they were making this way back when, because it's Spielberg's involved in this. You've got just a roster, a murderer's row of talent at the time, and Frank Marshall, for instance, in there as well. And I think there was some contention about how scary to make this. I absolutely love this. So like you say about it being funny, it plays for me like what you'd get if Hitchcock was making movies in 1990. Like if you tried to make The Birds, for instance, literally make The Birds with spiders. So effectively Alfred Hitchcock's Spiders, presented by Steven Spielberg. And then you've got this great sort of roster of supporting comedic turns from people like John Goodman, for instance, and the brilliant Julian Sands, who just flounces his way into scenes. I was going to mention
Julian Sands because he made another favourite film of mine before this called Warlock, which doesn't get enough credit, and that's it, in which he plays exactly that, a hideous warlock from the 16th century who's come to the modern Americas, and again, but his career he just seemed to disappear, Julian. I mean, I thought he was going to be this huge A-list, often playing the baddies, but he's like kind of Ralph Fiennes before his time, isn't he, Julian Sands?
Oh, he really is. He seems to have found a bit of a resurgence, though, in recent years through, since the dawn of sort of event television, he seems to have found a new niche. I literally saw him the other day in an episode of Person of Interest, and he was an absolutely terrific villain. I think he was a recurring Stargate villain for a year or so as well. He's really getting out there in the genre at the moment.
Okay, so it's directed by Frank Marshall. It's on tonight on great exclamation mark movies, 10 minutes to 7, 6:50 in the new money. From 1990, it's Arachnophobia. Let's have a little burst of the trailer. If you're a spider-phobe, leave the room now.
The Jennings family has just moved to the small town of Canaima.
Oh, Ross, smell that air. Oh, God.
In search of a simpler life.
Want to blow up a bullfrog? Okay.
It's the perfect place.
Goodbye crime, goodbye grime.
Except for one pesky little problem.
Come with me and look at the web.
The web? I have a terrible fear of spiders. Come on, we live in the country now. It's time to work through this irrational, paralyzing terror. It's not irrational.
Hollywood Pictures and Amblin Entertainment present Jeff Daniels.
Honey, we're in the living room. We need you to kill a spider.
And John Goodman.
Dover McClintock, Infestation Management.
I thought it's just a spider.
Would anybody object if I tore this floor out?
I would.
False alarm, then lead on. There's no spider here.
Oh, famous last words. It reminds me as well of a film, Mouse Hunt, with Christopher Walken, and of course, it got that feeling, that's about, obviously, a mouse, one mouse. It's the same kind of thing, this, and part of you, when you see this, I think, you want the spiders to win. You wanted a sequel to this, didn't we? Really, we wanted the spiders to win, at least in parts.
I don't know. There's room for a franchise in this one. I'd like to see Arachnophobia 2: The Spiders take San Francisco, because I think that's where the movie sort of eventually sets up.
Marvellous stuff. Let's go for your second recommendation, and this is on. Is this on Film 4 as well? I think tonight it's Ex Machina from not that long ago. This film, is it quite a recent movie?
No, 2014. So this is on Film 4, Saturday night, 11:20. This is the reason this is on, I think, is because Alex Garland's new movie Men with Jessie Buckley is out next week. So it seems fortune timing.
Because he began as a novelist and he wrote The Beach, and then he moved into filmmaking. I think who directed The Beach? It wasn't Danny Boyle, was it?
That was Danny Boyle, and Alex Garland would then go on to set himself up as a screenwriter afterwards, and he actually even wrote, I think it was Dredd, quite famously wrote in 2012, the Carl Urban version of Judge Dredd. But he's turned into kind of one of the go-to guys for more cerebral science fiction. This is like a $15 million Black Mirror episode, and it's absolutely brilliant. So it stars Oscar Isaac as the tech genius who invents the AI android, played by Alicia Vikander with a transparent head, and somehow she still manages to look absolutely stunning doing it. And they call in Donald Gleason as the software programmer to run the Turing test, determine whether or not she can pass for human or if she's just going to be permanently outed as an AI. And of course, as these things are wont to do, it's a trippy, turny, twisty kind of a dramatic thriller, gloriously shot by Rob Hardy, who was a cinematographer on Mission Impossible Fallout. This thing looks incredible. Like I say, it's $15 million. This thing looks like it costs 60, and it nearly all takes takes place in just the sexiest house you've ever seen. You know, one of those really nice in the forest, made entirely of glass and chrome sheds, as it is, and it's all underground. Absolutely stunning movie with some great performances, as you'll hear in the clip. This is Oscar Isaac and Donald Gleeson arguing over what does and doesn't make Alicia Vikander alive.
Here we go. It's film for tonight. It's, I think, is it 7:20 tonight? I can't remember.
20 past 11 tomorrow night.
Ex Machina, film 4. Here we go.
You feel stupid, but you really shouldn't, because proving an AI is exactly as problematic as you said it would be.
What was the real test?
You. Ava was a rat in a maze, and I gave her one way out. To escape, she'd have to use self-awareness, imagination, manipulation, sexuality, empathy, and she did. Now, if that isn't true AI, what the is?
So my only function was to be someone she could use to escape.
Yeah.
Wow, I've forgotten how good that film was, actually. So it's on tomorrow night, as we said, on Film 4 again, 20 past 7, Ex Machina. And I've gone for a film that was voted about 10 years ago by the BFI members as the 17th greatest British film of all time. Those things mean nothing, but this film is a cracker. It's also a real, almost a documentary of what London was still like 5 or 6 years after the end of the Second World War, because there's bomb damage all over the place. Set largely in Battersea. They film at Bank as well. They film all over London. It's the Lavender Hill mob. Alec Guinness, of course, Sir Alex. Stanley Holloway's in it. Sid James is brilliant in this film, one of his first kind of British films. They're kind of jokey, thuggish criminal. Alfie Bass is in it, that older listeners might remember if they're as old as me, from Bootsy and Snudge. And basically it's about a put-upon, henpecked bank clerk. He knows he's going to get the tin tack, so he decides, with his knowledge of the inside machinations of the bank, to pull off a definitive heist. They've got a foolproof plan to get the gold out of the country. Things go slightly amiss, but it's one of those great films where you kind of know that the moral beginning and the moral ending were tacked on. It's an exciting, funny, silly film, Lavender Hill Mob, and it's on Talking Pictures TV, which everybody I know loves now, from 1951, 6:20 tomorrow. And I think, for mine, this and The Man in the White Suit are probably my favourite two Ealing comedies. I mean, it's a very different, and this was directed by Charles Crichton, and because of this, many years later, John Cleese got him out of retirement to do A Fish Called Wanda, because he loved the way he shot the heist in that, and he does the same kind of thing in A Fish Called Wanda. I think when he made Fish Called Wanda, he must have been in his 80s or something, wasn't he, Charles Crichton?
Oh, he must have been by then, surely.
Absolutely. It's a great movie, this. 20 minutes past 6 tomorrow night. Even if you've seen it before, what's not to love? It's the Lavender Hill Mob.
These men are dangerous, plodding their way with icy calm to riches far beyond the wildest dreams of ordinary man.
A minute later, the guard will appear around this corner, and you, Pendlebury, will detain him for at least half a minute. Ask him for a light, ask him the way, ask him anything, but keep him there. We must have those 30 seconds.
Edgar. Isn't one supposed to say that when one's being briefed on my rare visits to the cinema?
The word is Roger.
These men are ruthless. Fear has no meaning for them as they hurl defiance at the law.
Help! Help!
Fear has no meaning for them as they hurl defiance at the law. Of course, you've got that wonderful My Brother Starry Retroussive R, the character that Alec Guinness plays in that. So there's the Lavender Hill Mob. Now, I've gone for a film next. My final recommendation for the weekend is also back on Talking Pictures TV, and it's from 1983, and it's, I think, one of the forgotten movies of Francis Ford Coppola. He made two adaptations of novels by a woman called Essie Hinton, and they're both set kind of in Oklahoma, Texas. The first one is The Outsiders, which is my recommendation. The other one, which I absolutely love, it isn't on as often as it should be, the black and white sort of film. Mickey Rourke's in it as well. It's called Rumblefish, and Matt Dillon, and that's a great kind of greaser movie. But this one's called The Outsiders. Again, it's about a teen gang assembled and their trials and tribulations growing up in that part of Oklahoma, and there's the kind of the greasers, the street gang, the kind of working class kids, and the more prosperous ones, and they don't get on. So there's a kind of, and you tell tragedy may or may not be coming element to this, but the cast for this is astonishing. I mean, you're going to hear some of them mention now, turning up in this, and again, spotted early doors by Coppola and his casting people. There is, in no particular order, Matt Dillon, Ralph Macchio, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, okay, Diane Lane, Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, the singing star, Leif Garrett, and also C. Thomas Howell, who then I think was the one given the lead role. He was the one I think everybody thought was going to be the absolute A-lister. But because poor Patrick Swayze's fallen off the perch, but the cost of assembling this cast now will be unthinkable, wouldn't it? When you think of the names in this, I mean, this is basically the big names and pin-ups of 80s cinema in one film that virtually at the time I don't think many people went to see.
Well, this is the movie that literally ignited the spark that gave us the Brat Pack. So a lot of like contemporary celebrity culture comes from this movie, bizarrely. It's mystifying when you look back as well that C. Thomas Howell is the guy, like you say, that they expected to be the breakout star. Like, he's the guy that's going to have the career.
He's the least charismatic one of the game, but maybe that's why he's like there as the observer. And these novels are really huge in the States, and I think they're taught in schools. But, I mean, it made money, this, but it didn't make the kind, and he needed a hit badly after One from the Heart, did his studio collapse, Coppola. And then he made, he was obsessed with this one, because Rumblefish is such a weird but brilliant film, I think. I love that movie.
Strange thing for me as well is that Coppola did, and they're both Hinton novels, aren't they? This and Rumblefish, and they're both out in the same year, starring Matt Dillon. Yeah. They're both, incidentally, the year I was born, so I'm feeling incredibly old right now.
Well, I don't want to make you feel that. I'm going to play you a little bit from the trailer. Of course, it's a cracking film, I think. It's just a list of the cast here. It's on Sunday early as a Sunday morning. So from Saturday midnight, 1 a.m. Sunday morning, it's The Outsiders on Talking Pictures TV. I urge you to take a look.
The Outsiders. Pony Boy, Dallas, Johnny, Cherry, Soda Pop, Daryl.
All of those played by big names, of course, and Pony Boy played by the original star, C. Thomas Howell, and then I think Patti Scialfa, who is Bruce Springsteen's wife, wrote a song about this film and about that character called Pony Boy. Everyone in America is obsessed with it. Everybody here should see it. Very quickly, Van, I'm afraid. What's your final recommendation for us, Spacey? It's on ITV2, Sunday night, 11:20.
11:20? No, that's Ex Machina, 7:50 on Sunday night.
Okay.
Much more appropriate time for the much more family-friendly Ocean's 8.
And we should say this isn't a prequel. This is a kind of variation on the Ocean's theme. The prequel's on the way sometime next year, I think.
Yes, starring Margot Robbie, because we're just going to give her all the sequel reboots now, apparently. There's some pirates. So Ocean's 8 is a contemporary spin-off of the Soderbergh trilogy, in which Sandra Bullock plays the sister of George Clooney's character. She is Debbie Ocean to his Danny Ocean. And she gets out of prison, and it turns out that certain habits just run in the family, and she sets out to assemble a crew and rob the Met Gala to try and steal a priceless necklace from Anne Hathaway, whilst they are being pursued by an insurance agent played by the only name that could possibly let down a movie that sounds this good, aka James Corden. I've got a clip for you of Debbie Ocean getting the same kind of parole treatment that her brother did.
Marvellous stuff. It's on Sunday evening afternoon. It's 7:20 ITV2, and it's Ocean's 8.
Good afternoon, Miss Ocean. As you know, parole is a privilege.
It's a mistake, but it happened. And if I were to be released, I would just want the simple life. I just want to hold down a job, make some friends, pay my bills.
Cracking film worth watching if you like your heist movies. And that was, of course, me and Van Connor, top broadcaster, of course, great film critic, catching with Rebecca Perfect, our Monday guest on Offscreen, their podcast, which drops in a couple of hours' time from all good podcast providers. Your 7-day guide to almost as movie, TV, showbiz, and even technology stirred into the mix. And Van joins us every Friday. After this, though, Paul Kite and details of the early sports breakfast. First, though, the Met Office and your weekend weather.